You may or may not have noticed that I gave up Instagram for almost a month last month, depending on when you're watching this, and I thought I would come on here and talk a little bit about what I liked, what I didn't like, and what I'm going to be doing moving forwards. So now that I'm back on Instagram, if you want to follow me, this is my handle. You can come and follow me along there. I do Instagram stories pretty much every day, and I do a photo a few times a week. And so that kind of introduces you, I guess, to how much I use it. The reason that I gave it up is because I know Instagram makes a lot of people unhappy, both as a user, like creating stuff, and also consuming stuff. And I didn't feel like it made me unhappy, but I thought the only way to like scientifically test that is to try giving it up and see how I feel. So I, first of all, was going to just not use it, but then when I announced on Instagram I was going to give it up for a while, someone said like, oh yeah, when I logged out of Instagram it made such a difference, and I was like, oh, I wasn't going to actually log out. That felt a lot more drastic, but when they said that, I decided I would log out. And if you want to give up Instagram for a while, I would definitely recommend logging out, because it meant that I didn't just like quickly check one thing. I did occasionally check it on my browser. For example, I'm in this group of bloggers, and we're all really close friends, and one of them commented like, oh, that's so exciting about that brand deal that you've just got, so I wanted to go and like her photo to like support her brand deal. So there was a couple of things like that I did log on my browser for, but pretty much I didn't touch it for close to a month. The main difference that I saw was that my screen time plummeted. I don't know if you guys are on iPhone or if Android does it as well, but you can see your screen time if you scroll across like away from all the icons, then you can see what your screen time is. And my screen time went down from about 3.5 hours a day to like 1 hour. And I think it was partly the time that I spend on Instagram. I guess that means I probably spend like an hour a day watching stories and like uploading my photos and writing the caption, all that kind of thing. But it also, not having Instagram just reduced my overall phone time, because I'd pick up my phone and I'd be like, there's nothing to do on here, because I've already pretty much given up Facebook. I don't have the app. I just log on occasionally on a browser. I don't really use Twitter, because who uses Twitter? So it was really just Instagram. And so whenever I picked up my phone and there was like no Instagram, I kind of just put my phone down again. Like, I'd read all my emails. I don't get very many emails. So my phone immediately became like quite useless, which was really interesting. And now that I'm back on, my screen time is pretty much back up to normal. But I'm going to talk in a minute about the changes that I'm going to make moving forwards. I just want to talk first about what it was like not being on it. I definitely did miss the people that I connect with on Instagram, because I'm traveling all the time. A lot of my friends are all over the world, so I really like to see what people are doing and tell them what I'm doing and keep in touch. And I DM people a lot based on stories. I'll like reply to their stories very often, so I am actually quite close friends with people who I've actually never met because of Instagram. So I really missed staying up to date with people, seeing like how their kids are growing up and all that kind of thing. So I definitely missed it for areas like that. I had more time to like read and things like that, you know, that extra hour or two a day. Some of it I probably just wasted, but some of it I definitely did spend like reading or working or meditating or all kinds of different stuff. So I definitely got some time back and spent it on some more like kind of offline activities. But interestingly, one thing which is kind of hard to explain, normally if like Ed and his friend were watching some like super nerdy YouTube video on the TV of like some computer game live stream, and normally I would just be like, not interested in that, gonna go on my phone. But because I didn't have my phone, essentially, I watched it with them, and like it wasn't really my scene, but I watched it with them and I kind of joined in and I learned a bit about one of his interests, and it just gave me much less of an opt-out, so I got more involved in things that I normally wouldn't bother with. Or rather than needing an instant activity, you sort of have a moment to think of like, I could probably think of an activity or look around and find something. So, you know, maybe if I was just like sat on my own at the beach, normally I'd be on my phone, but I was sort of like, okay, what can I do? Like, maybe I can look around, or maybe I can go for a walk, or I would like suggest a conversation to Ed. I'd be like, oh, what would you rather? You know, all these kind of things. And we just like came up with more entertainment. So there was a little gap of like, oh, what am I going to do? I'm bored. And then you fill that gap. And normally you don't get the gap, so you never get to fill it, if that makes sense. So that was really interesting, just to see like the other things that I ended up doing and the things that I got involved things that I got involved in that I normally wouldn't bother because I know they're kind of not my favourite thing. But neither is infinite scroll my favourite thing. The other thing that I did is that my space on my phone where I normally have Instagram, I replaced that with my meditation app to kind of remind me whenever I instinctively went to it to be like, oh, it's gone, and like this is the reason, because I want to be more present. I want to have like less life envy, you know, all that kind of stuff. So that kind of reminded me. So if you're gonna log out for a while, then I'd recommend doing something like that, like move it. I moved it off my home screen, and I replaced the specific spot with something kind of motivating. So moving forwards, I'm back on Instagram, and first of all, I would really love your thoughts on what you do to limit your social media, whether you even do, whether you think it's all good or all bad. I'd really like to know in the comments any advice, because I don't really know what I'm doing. We're all just making it up here. But the first thing that I'm doing is I am trying to turn my phone off after 7 p.m. So I already had like an implementation where I don't take any Instagram photos. I sometimes do stories, but I wasn't doing photos after dark because my feed is very colourful and it kind of needs daylight and sunlight. So I just decided I'm not going to take any photos after dark. And I found that quite liberating, because then after dark I wasn't really thinking about like, oh, that would be a good spot, or maybe I should get a picture with my dinner or whatever. I just didn't take any in the dark. So now I've extended that to stories, so I try not to do any stories in the evening, because I mean, who really cares what I'm having for dinner? But I've also tried to actually turn my phone off after dark. The first day I left my phone in the apartment, I decided not to take it with me when we went out to dinner, but that was a total disaster, because then I remembered that I had a call, but I couldn't check, we were out at dinner and I couldn't check what time the call was because my phone has my calendar on it. So then I went back to get my phone, but then there was a power cut, so I was stuck in the middle of the apartment block in pitch black, and obviously I don't have a torch because my torch is on my phone. So it was just like this whole disaster area. So now I don't leave it at home, I just switch it off. And so that's good, because I can switch it back on again if I really need to check something or if I'm like in danger. But I think it's been really good to switch it off rather than just kind of promise myself I won't use it. So I have an alarm on my phone now at 7 p.m. and I sometimes extend it a little bit, like snoozing in the morning. But I try not to use my phone particularly after 7, which I found to be really good. The second change, which you will have seen I've been doing for a while on my Instagram, is I always share a totally unedited photo as well. So I do it as a carousel. And I think I feel good about that, because I edit my photos a lot, because I enjoy it. I find it fascinating, all the changes you can make. I want to make it like art. I want to make it the best that I can. I've put a lot of effort into the composition, so I then want to put a lot of effort into like the finishing touches. So I'm not going to stop editing them, although I never like edit my body, like move bits in or out or anything. I just edit all the colours, and I do Photoshop the background. I'll get rid of people and things like that. But I also include now one totally unedited picture so that people can see like what it was really like, without it being kind of artistic. I'm also trying to be even more real on my stories. My stories were always very real because I know that my feed is very curated, so I wanted my stories to be very real. But I'm a big fan of Chessie King right now. If you guys don't follow her, you absolutely must. And she is hilarious on YouTube and Instagram, just really, really real, like pulling stupid faces, like no makeup on, all that kind of stuff. So I want to be even more like that and kind of treat everyone who's looking at them like best friends who I'm just messing around with. So that's a change that I'm also trying to make, but it's hard because you feel insecure like going on without makeup or being too silly. So I'm trying to work towards that. I also have turned off notifications for everything really, except for like phone calls. So I no longer have the little red dot, because oh my goodness, the addiction to getting rid of those little red dots on the icons is so intense. So I don't get a notification like a ping for me to pick up my phone, and I also, even when I open my phone, there's no red dots on anything. So I have to open the app to check it. And that seems like something quite basic, because you think you would need to be told to open the app, but Lord knows I don't. I'm going to open WhatsApp and Instagram and Facebook Messenger regardless of whether there's a dot or not. So I got rid of all of the dots and definitely all of the push notifications, and to me that's made a really big difference. I feel like I'm in the driving seat of when I pick up my phone, and yes, that is all of the time, but at least I'm choosing to do it. It's not like pinging me. So those are some of the changes I've made so far. I'm also considering muting a bunch of stories to try and reduce the number of stories that I watch. But like I said, I'd be really interested to know what you guys think would be a good change. I feel a bit bad that I've gone back to pretty much the full 3 hours of watch time every day on my phone, but maybe that's just inevitable. I'd be really interested to hear your thoughts. And then one other thing which I've changed is, I don't know if you can do this on Android, but on iPhone you can have it set a limit on how long you spend on each type of app. So I have set a 1 hour a day limit on social media. So I think it does like WhatsApp, Telegram, Instagram. I guess it would do Twitter and Snapchat and things if I had those. But once I've reached an hour on those apps combined per day, it sends me a notification and then it like grays out all of them. And if I click on it, it will say, you reached your limit, do you want another 15 minutes? So I can choose to carry on for a bit longer, but it at least tells me. Sometimes I reach the 1 hour limit at like noon, and sometimes I manage to extend it till the whole end of the day. So it's been interesting for me as well to get like a little ping to say, okay, this is how much time you spend on your phone. Because although my total is like 3 hours a day, a lot of that is things like podcasts, which I'm listening to, or I do a half an hour workout every day on my phone. I do a 15-minute meditation every day on my phone. So those all count towards the screen time. So I would encourage you to put in some of those limitations if you're trying to cut back a bit. So I really hope you guys found that interesting. I would love to know your advice on how to like get a handle on social media, but still get the joy out of it, because I do really enjoy it. And I think you guys enjoy what I make too. So I want this to be like a two-way thing where I'm bringing you joy and you're bringing me joy back. So thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, and I will see you guys next week. Have a great week. Bye.